Okay, it's on.
Okay, we're on now. Let's stand.
Okay. Not Wally. We lost Wally.
Okay, well, we'll do this without. Don't worry about Wally, you won't lose him.
Okay. I'd like to call the meeting of the Open Space Committee on Tuesday, March 14th to order.
March 4th.
March 14th? Fourth.
What time?
4th. We start off with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all. Where's your machine?
It's being broadcast, don't have to. Yeah. It'll be in the archives.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming tonight on this cold, miserable March 4th.
You could have canceled it.
Are there any, I'd like to ask for approval of the minutes of the last meeting as submitted.
Approved.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approved. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda as presented?
I would suggest that we wait for Art Kester if you want to have a Kiwanis cleanup report.
Okay, we will do that.
And so we won't cancel at this point, but we'll defer in case he shows.
Absolutely.
I'd like to add an update on my trail.
Okay. Update. Trail. That's at the Wildlife Center.
Yeah.
That'll be number 6 action item or,
Yes.
or discussion item.
It's we'll call it discussion.
All right.
Okay, we'll move that.
So it's an ongoing action.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Okay, as far as the liaison reports tonight, Leah is not here, so we'll defer that. And when Art Kester appears, we'll talk about the Kiwanis. Wally, could you give us an update on the township? What's happening? And
Thank you, Cliff. The township has been in the midst of its budgeting process. We had a meeting last night. Lasted about 3.5 hours. Mm-hmm. And they went through department by department. The material that you submitted for this committee was accepted as it was. It is in the draft. It now goes for final review and approval, and then we'll go out for a township board vote to accept the proposed for this department and every other department. The storm clouds are gathering about the remaining monies for open space purchases. There is a sentiment amongst some of my fellow board members that they would like to take the remaining balance and apply it someplace else in the township. I reminded them that that was a voted millage and dedicated to purchase of open space lands, and it can't be taken away unless that same residency votes to do so. And it sounds as though the township will put that up for a vote in the fall. But as far as right now, it is considered to be not touchable for any purpose other than purchase of open space land. That being said, realize the writing on the wall that every time we go to ask for a purchase, even if it makes perfect sense, there will be a sentiment against it.
Okay.
So I don't like to pull punches and I don't throw curveballs, and I know you don't either. So just realize that this is what's coming. There's about $500,000 left, and the township members of the board think that there might be a better place to spend the money at this point.
Okay. Is there a feeling that
And general fund?
is there a feeling that that there's a desperate need for that money, or is it a feeling that we shouldn't buy any more open space property?
You know, I'm having a hard time judging that. I get both vibes. That the money might be better spent fixing potholes, but you can't fix potholes in April with money you can't get until December.
We're doing pretty good right now.
Not hardly.
Potholes?
Not hardly.
Yes, we are.
But there is a sentiment that money could be used in other places. And again, it's up to the folks that are watching this program, the people that vote here.
Absolutely.
It's it's been kind of a quiet thing other than the budgeting work. We do have another meeting this coming Monday. I haven't seen a proposed agenda for that yet, so I don't know that there's anything extraordinary there. We'll probably appoint our chairman for the commissions and committees at this meeting, make our selections, because an annual meeting is coming on March 24th.
Okay.
And that's where all of the appointments become official.
What's happening March 24th?
That's the annual township board meeting.
Oh,
Okay.
There is it's traditional that we have a bit of an open house here, and I think it's like 6 o'clock, and it lasts about an hour. You get to meet the members that you voted in and bend their ear, and that's what we're here for.
Okay.
And at 7 o'clock we'll have the annual meeting, and then about 8 o'clock we'll go out of our annual meeting and go into the normal township board meeting, which occurs twice a month.
Yeah.
That's about all I got to tell you.
is the only thing that they've talked about potholes, or do they have something more substantial? It just seems a shame that they would take the open space money that would have a lasting give back to the community and put it on something like potholes that might last for how many months?
There's potholes was the one item that was specifically mentioned.
Because I know they're trying to get money in other areas like Wi-Fi, etc., that at least would have a lasting effect versus potholes.
Again, the only thing that I heard of with specificity was potholes. But, everybody has a wish list. And all the board members have wish lists too. It's up to one board member to convince the other 6. And if you get 4 convinced out of the 7, you get what you want. So that's the way this place works. It's the way every place works. Sometimes we don't like the results, but the process is right. Agreed?
I've looked at a lot of communities, and that's what happens. You can go all over the country, and you can watch the meetings online like ours, and you see this happening. And in the end of the day, as they say, I don't like that phrase, but you have to have something done. A process has to take place.
Yes.
If you don't like it, run for office, email the person you voted for to try to change their opinion, to change their vote, and you're going to see that start to happen.
Yes.
I can't blame someone. I can't say, Wally, you didn't do what I voted for you and I wanted you to do this. But if I give him a petition with 1,000 names on it that we want to have a change on when he votes on something, he'll listen to that. I would think. That's part of the public opinion.
I think you know me.
And that's how it should work.
And that's how it should work.
Otherwise, you're making assumptions without any feel for what the public really wants.
And I'm calling them as I see them like I usually do. This is a passion for us. The open spaces definitely are. And it's a worthwhile passion. Other people have other passions. There's other people that think that the airport's the greatest thing in the world for this community. And there are those that think that the bike paths are the best thing that ever happened to it. And so they're going to lobby and they're going to work towards promoting what they think is the best thing. And so I think when it all winds up, vote of the people is the best way to decide it.
Right.
We might not like what we get, but it's not us. It's those folks out there.
You hit on a key point.
Yeah.
Lobbying at the local level is not organized at the local level.
Yeah.
It's organized on K Street in Washington.
Okay. All right. Okay. Anything else, Wally?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. As far as property acquisitions is concerned, there is some properties that offers have been made, and the offers seem very reasonable, and I believe that are they going to be presented at the next township board meeting, or will they be presented at some future meeting? Without getting into the details.
It will not be presented at the next township board meeting, which is Monday.
Okay.
It's not an agenda item. It can be presented at the one after.
Why won't it be?
Do you think?
Why won't it be?
I'm not prepared to do it.
Do you think it would be proper to try to do it before, let's say, the end of April?
I think it would be proper to do it on March 24th.
Okay.
That's when we're not prepared to do that. We haven't even really talked about these things yet.
Okay. All right.
Did Dale come up with anything that
Not really.
he's supposed to be doing?
It's he's given us some notes and some prices that the folks that want to sell properties want to sell for. And I did speak to the rest of the members last night and pointed out that there was several properties that were a small portion of that remaining fund that we'd like to consider to buy with, buy open space with. And you heard the chiming there in the room yesterday. No more.
And we have that on tape.
Yes, and you have that on tape.
But it was not.
So you can figure out who said it.
It was not unanimous, though.
No.
Okay.
No. There were some folks that didn't say anything, and they understand that it's a vote of the people.
Yeah.
You don't take it away from them. You let them make the
The
decisions.
same token, if I can, I'm not trying to. Well, I'm not going to say anything right now. But okay, we'll have to just wait and see what happens on the 24th. I think.
I think that's the answer.
I think it would be, if it is going to be on the agenda for the 24th, that I would encourage the members of the Open Space Committee to at least come in and sit down and be in attendance and be there to answer any questions that may come up.
There's a part of the agenda that says speak on agenda items. And if you want
Yes, okay.
you want to support our position, then you should be there to support it.
Okay, that will do. Okay. Roberta is not here. She's in Texas, so there'll be no report for the Conservancy. And if Art comes in, he will talk about the annual spring cleanup, which I believe is scheduled for April 5th, 2014. That's with the Kiwanis. Okay, the next item on the agenda is any public comments for the agenda items. Do you have any comments?
I had some thoughts since last night and since sitting here while you were preparing.
Identify yourself and give your address. That's part of the rules.
What are the rules?
Identify yourself by name and give us your address.
Ernest Francis Horvath. Hickory Island, Roseville, Michigan, 37 years.
Okay.
Two concepts. Concept one, in the corporate world, there's a concept in the financial world called found money. Found money is when you go through a budget and either trim or see things that you didn't see the first time around and you can get some revenue. Generally accepted principle. I don't see that being applied here as I sat through those budget sessions. So the concept here is, if we were to take an assessment of what our current inventory of open space property is, and I understand it's about 550 acres. If we looked at how much we spent to acquire that property over the years, and I estimate about $14 million, versus its present value now, if we had people come in and appraise it, if we were to market it, because I believe the board and other people in this community may consider that found money, if we were to liquidate some to use for other use, to have for other uses. So how would we go about getting a current value, since it's not on the tax roll now because it goes off when it becomes open space?
Correct.
How would we get a current market value of those properties? Don't have to answer tonight, but it's a question I have.
No. Okay, and
Does that make sense?
And the next item is?
And the next item is, of all the open space, if a group of people, concerned citizens, wanted that land tested to make sure it's environmentally clear and safe for people to walk in and use and have trails and maybe to even just look at, to make sure there aren't any vapors coming or any other hazards. How would we go about that? And that would be a professional, a world-renowned professional environmental testing company to come in and make sure some of these things that are suspect are tested and evaluated and they are safe. And if so, it should enhance the value if we were to market any of those. Because I feel a groundswell in the community. There's 14 million sitting there. I have bad roads. Hardly anyone walks in there from the falling trees. The board or other people in this community may look at that as found money.
Okay.
And I'd be prepared for that.
Are you proposing, let me ask you a question, are you proposing that we test all future purchases of open space for environmental issues?
When I look at farmland right now, it's my responsibility to do that. If I was a township buying land for the community to own without any liabilities,
Phase
I would
one.
like to see that happen.
Phase 1.
Yes. And I would like to see some of the ones we already own tested over time. Because it could be hazardous, from what I found in my own professional study. We could have something there that we don't know about. And if it's there, as I go through the inventory on this island, we will find it. Because I will get funds to do that. My question is, it's township government property. Is it like the airport where I can go in there and test? What are there protocols, rules, procedures? How would I proceed on that?
Okay. All right.
You don't have to answer tonight. I'd just like to know.
Okay.
Well, I'm not going to answer tonight, but
Okay.
That's not something you pull off the top of your
No,
head.
sure
isn't.
But I could work with the EPA. I could work with the Army Corps. I could work with other agencies.
Okay.
So those are the two concerns.
Thank you. Thank you, Ernie. Okay, we got them noted, and we'll include them in future meetings. Are we prepared to set a date for the Dump the Junk event? Woody?
Might as well.
Yeah. When?
Middle of April.
Middle of April?
We usually do it in May, but we can do it in April.
Well, given the condition of the weather, maybe we should. I would suggest maybe we wait till.
It's supposed to be a cold, wet spring.
Oh, man, wait till mid. I would suggest we wait till mid-May if that's if you
I
think.
don't care. I just, mid-May, you're jumping into other things that are going on, which I don't know what they are.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we double check with other events that may be occurring?
We always bounce into somebody else's event, so that really doesn't make any difference, but just want to let you know.
Okay.
You know, last time I think we bumped into the garden club or the thing, the plants that the community center.
yeah, those are not conflicting, they're just concurrent.
Yeah, I understand.
You know,
Yeah. Okay.
But,
Why don't we do it before, schedule it before mid-May, assuming that there's no other big.
Let's just do it the last week in April, whatever the heck that is.
Okay.
What day is that?
26th,
Okay,
that's the Saturday after Easter.
that's good. Then we're not doing it during Easter.
So you propose April 26th, right?
Yeah, and if it rains and pours, maybe we can do the following week.
Or following week?
That would be May 3rd.
Yeah.
So April 26th, rain date, May 3rd.
Yeah, no sense of bringing these people out in rain. The
Right.
people who are working it sit there and freeze, and the people who are bringing the stuff don't bring enough stuff because it's cold.
Yeah. The only problem with that is your box rentals are going to cost you some money to stand there for a week if we have a
I
rain.
understand that.
Yeah. Well, I think we have some time now. We get a feel for what the weather's
Well, it's
really
going
going to
to be,
be
and
like
then we can make a decision.
during that time. Yeah, agreed. Okay, well, listen, we target those two dates then.
We've stood there when it was pouring rain many times.
Yeah, like every time.
Well, it could be every time, but at least one day it was
Yeah.
poured like hell.
Yeah. Why don't we settle on these two dates, and as we get closer to it, if we find that the weather is not breaking, we may want to push it back a little bit.
Yeah.
That'd be my suggestion. Okay. Okay. The next item is town hall meetings for nature trail construction and maintenance. Is there any thoughts on that decision? if you recall, instead of going out for a survey, which we all agreed would not be very effective, is have a series of meetings with either maybe some of the other commissions or maybe a couple of town hall meetings to get the citizen input on nature trails and other items of interest to the Open Space Committee. Has there been any thought on that on your part? No, we don't have to do it right away. Obviously.
Yeah. I was thinking that if you started off first with some of the organizations to start formulating a plan, and then once you started getting some ideas, then open it up to the whole community so that you could say, these are some of the ideas that have been, can you add to it, can you give more input to it, etc.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to go in cold, and I wouldn't want to formulate too much without having some input to get the structure going.
Would you propose then that we develop maybe a basic format?
Yes.
For, this is what we want to this is what we want to talk about, and maybe go before.
Right. These are some of the things we could do.
Maybe the Land Conservancy, maybe the Kiwanis, and maybe the Rotary.
Right.
Get their thoughts on it.
And go to the bike path people, go
Absolutely.
to the garden club,
But we want to figure out what we want to tell them first.
Right, right.
This is what we want to talk about.
And how much of a trail you're thinking about,
Okay.
some parameters. Because, for example, at the Nature Center, the Conservancy Sanctuary, Wildlife Sanctuary, the concept, we seem to be going for that, I don't think is the concept that we're talking about for this one. So have an idea of what the concept is for it and what would be involved, and then see how they feel about it. Do they have more things that they'd rather have done, etc.?
Should we limit it to trails, or would we want to include the open space program per se, with trails and procurement being a topic? But that's just a thought,
That might be a good way to start getting input back on it.
My suggestion is we develop a format.
Right.
And then can we do that between now and the next meeting? And then at the next meeting, kind of decide what organizations we'd like to meet with, first, second, and third to go over this program with them. And then, as you say, once we get a feel for what some of the organizations would like, then we open it up for general discussion at a general town hall meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Are you spearheading that, or?
I'd like, if you could, as far as developing the format, we could do it together.
Okay.
But, it's up to you. If you want to spearhead it, that's fine. And then ask for, some opinions. But I have some thoughts on it. You have some thoughts.
I think it's always good to know who's going to drive it.
Well, why don't you'll be the point person. I will help you on this thing.
I'm kind of looking at calendars and thinking about you and thinking about Dump the Junk. We've got a township board meeting on Monday, the 14th. That's the second Monday
14th of March?
of April.
Oh, April.
And this is tying in with your thoughts and with the Dump the Junk event. Between now and April 14th, if you were to announce it at the April 14th meeting, you could announce the Dump the Junk event, and you could announce your town hall meeting.
Yeah, we're going to have to use a couple dates there on Dump the Junk, though. If it's raining like hell on the last weekend of April, we're going to roll it over to the first week in March.
Well,
or May.
yeah, I understand it, but you got 12 days between the announced date and the first selected date.
Okay.
So what I'm asking you, if you don't do it then, you're not going to have a township board meeting to announce it at until after the first date.
Right.
So you've got to target for your event to be
But I think
announced.
more people look at the sign at Four Corners than they do at the town's these meetings.
A lot of people watch this program now,
This program or township meetings?
the township meeting.
Okay.
They do.
It's just another venue. And the same
Yeah,
thing with
that's a
yours.
good idea.
You need to have something ready so I can throw it out there for you, or you can come up and throw it out yourself. But on the 14th, that should be an agenda item.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll talk to, Miranda usually does the one for the trash man, and I can do Fritz, because I know the contact with Fritz,
Did you ever come up with a final figure, what you got out of Fritz?
180.
180? It was worth having a box here, wasn't it?
Yeah, we're going to do it. Well, this year we're going to do 2 boxes, and one's going to be for aluminum, one's going to be for metal. I think we could have done a better deal, but we didn't. So
Well, the box costs something too. Delivering it here costs something. Picking it up costs something. And if you still netted $180, Woody, I wouldn't.
I don't think it costs us anything. Did it?
No, there was a check given by, well, you were there.
No, you got a $180 check. Plus you got a free delivery of the box.
Right.
Plus you got a free pickup of the box.
Yeah.
And you got the rental of the box. That's what they charge for.
Yeah.
So, really, you did okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did very
And
well.
if you promote this thing this year like I think you're going to, you'll probably fill the boxes.
Well, we hope so. We're going to tell them to bring out their metal this time, because before I tried to do it twice before, and I went over to Fritz's office and talked to a lady over there, and I had the manager give me a call back. He never called back for 2 years. So then I went over to Pennsylvania and talked to the guy named Roger Sider and got information to him, and he said, no problem. I don't know why I was not contacted before. So it's working fine.
It's just being persistent, I guess.
Well,
You know a little bit about persistence
yeah, I know, but I just don't understand, because we could have made a lot of money.
over the years.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we...
There was a couple of years
had
that we
people
gave away
coming
a lot of
in.
metal,
We
too.
had 2 guys coming in all the time, and they were taking out 2 or 3 truckloads and trailer fulls of stuff.
Yeah.
So we could have made a lot of money, but
Here's what it
it didn't
is.
happen.
Yeah. Well, at least we made a start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something, I think you do deserve a little bit of an attaboy for what you do there. You do.
What?
You get an attaboy for what you do there.
Oh,
You
yeah.
do.
Absolutely.
More than
What
one.
about the electronics? Do you think that we have a chance with the electronics?
I'll call 'em.
Okay.
I found out about the batteries, the small batteries. Everybody comes once in a while, they'll come in and they have a barrel there at DPW, BTWPS, or what do you want to call it, a blue barrel. And you can throw the batteries in there. I didn't know that, because I was going over to Riverview and they're saying, no, you can't, you have to live in Riverview. So I knew a guy from Riverview, and I'd give him the batteries. He didn't like it, but I'd put it in his knapsack and he would take it over for me, or he'd throw it away. I don't know.
I don't know what the arrangement is for the barrel there. I've seen it,
Yeah, I found out.
and I think we're paying to dispose of it.
Well, it's there, okay? So bring your small batteries and we'll toss them for you, or you can toss them yourself.
I get rid of probably 2 55-gallon drums full of batteries every 2 months at the school.
Or it's Detroit?
Yeah.
But you say there's a blue barrel down at the DPS. Donna Deppa should know what
Yeah,
is done.
well, I can find out.
Okay.
Well, let's go somewhere. Usually it's half, not even a quarter of full.
There's a lot of regulations that we have to be careful about when it comes to batteries. These new lithium-ion batteries have to be kept separate from the rest of the batteries.
Well, then,
And so having an honor system sorted to a 55-gallon drum can cause a fire.
yeah.
But
Well, talking about fires, the 9-volt, small 9-volt batteries, they come in locked in together, can start a fire. One can spark off the other.
Yeah, they can.
And what happened was it was on the internet, which who knows if it's false or true or whatever, and it did start a fire by the two together. So if you throw them in, put black tape over them. Just beside, be careful about it.
For a period of time, we were stretching out a piece of duct tape, laying button batteries on them, and then putting another layer over it. And the 9 volts, we were just taping them over.
Yeah, right.
And we've done a lot better at the school than we have recently, but there's still issues with batteries.
Okay, well that's one thing. They have to
I'll find out.
They have to hand them to us to make sure that
Put them in right
they can't throw.
Put them in right there.
Okay. Going back to just one comment on the town hall meetings. I'll work with you on this. In other words, I won't say here it is.
No, I got you down as us.
Good. Okay.
Us? Is that the us word?
Yeah. Thank you.
Is that the us word?
Okay.
The us word, not the us word.
Are you going to be back in Florida in time to do that?
I'll be back the 20. I'll be gone from the 17th to the 22nd of March. Okay. Let me know when you're ready, okay, and we can sit down and noodle it out, okay?
Well, Bert's not here, so
Yeah, so I'll get with her and have her set a date when we can have our discussion.
and the welcome letters. The lady isn't here on the welcome letters, is she? The one
Well, that's what I was
Why did Rose leave?
I was going to talk about. She left about 1.5 years ago, and when she left, I've been trying to get in touch with her for the last 4 days, and I haven't been successful.
Yeah, I've tried that routine.
But Rose, when she resigned, she said, I'll continue with the welcome letters. I haven't been in contact with her lately. I'm just wondering how she's doing. So once I get an answer to that, if she says, well, I can't do it anymore, I'd like to get somebody from this committee to take over that function.
What are they?
Basically what it is
That's a form letter.
when people move to the island, what we have been doing, the township, I don't know whether it's the DPS, whether it's Lori, or somebody knows when people move to the island.
Okay.
And they've been sending the name of the person and the address. They keep a record of it. And Rose used to just come to the township office maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks, pick up a list of names of people who moved in, and has been mailing them a form letter, welcoming them to Grow Seal, and including a copy of the trail guide.
Great.
So, but I don't know, I've kind of lost track of how she's doing. And if she can't do it anymore, I would like to get somebody in our committee to pick that up. It doesn't involve a lot of work. The letter's already been written. It's a form letter. And of course, we have many copies of the trail guide. So it's just a matter of putting the letter and addressing it to the individual who moved into Grow Seal, putting it in an envelope and shipping it off to them. So,
Wally, does the township have any kind of a welcoming package? Could it be combined if there is?
It seems like it would make sense. I know that when we moved here, and that's almost 30 years ago now, there was a welcome wagon here.
Yeah.
And people used to show up at your door and, scare the
And then
daylights
for
out of you.
a while we had the
Yeah.
information center.
It was true. My wife said, there's people up front.
yeah, if there's another,
That's how they live here.
I'm not aware of any welcome wagon on the island.
Not
Yeah,
anymore.
we might want to somehow
Maybe we ought to
try.
start something, huh? There's a lot of committees, not only our committee. That,
Yeah, I mean, all of this,
Yeah.
everybody doing their own thing, if we all
everybody's doing
did
their own thing. And,
one thing.
and the thing that the township board people have been trying to do is figure out a way to woo people to come here, not congratulate them after they've come. So maybe their attention needs to be turned up a little bit on getting people here, and then also getting a letter or a meeting or a knock. When I see a new neighbor come in, I'll pull right up in their driveway, introduce myself. I'm so-and-so from the township board, and I just want you to know that you need a screwdriver, or you need a wheelbarrow, or you need somebody to ask a question. This is my card. Please feel free. Here's my cell phone number. And you make people feel welcome. And I think that that's
Right.
something that we all have to do.
If there is
But
another,
we still have to get them across the.
if there is
Right.
another organization on the island that's performing this function, we'd be more than happy to furnish them with copies of the Open Space Trail Guide. Okay.
The wizard on this is going to be Carol Canope. I bet
Oh,
you she'll
Carol
know.
Canope?
Yeah.
Carol will know.
Carol can.
Carol knows all.
Okay.
Yes, she does. I can tell you that.
So I'll check with Carol and see if she knows of anybody, and if not, if there is no organization that's sending information to new residents,
Then maybe we could take.
then we can take it over with the understanding if some other organization would like to do the work, we'd be more than happy then to turn it over to them. So I'll call Carol.
Okay.
All right. The next item is the extension of the trail in Manchester Woods. I think that Daryl and I are going to, when the weather breaks, and it's going to be probably in April, we're going to walk through the existing trail and determine with some markers where the extension of the trail should be, and with the idea that it goes from Meridian out to East River Road. Once we get it marked out, make sure that we are on open space, because there are areas in there where it kind of zigs in and out. That
Also, some residents are.
we'll report back to determine where we propose to put the trail, and then go forward from there.
Okay.
Okay. All right. There's another item that you wanted to give an update on, the wildlife
Yep.
center.
Okay. Bert has agreed to work with me on it, and Ann Scribner is working with me on it.
Okay.
And if anyone else,
Have
feel
Sugar
free.
Zoo, where?
Okay,
What
the-
organization?
The Wildlife Sanctuary. In the fall, Ann Scribner went through with me, and we identified all the different types of trees.
Sure.
She's one of the people that work at the garden club.
Well, she just joined the garden club. She used to be the biology teacher at the high school.
Okay.
And what sort of gave me the idea of doing this at the wildlife sanctuary was Anne gave a presentation at the garden club and was telling us all of the things that she did with the students while she was teaching. And one of the things that she did every year was to take them through the trails, identify the different trees, get them used to what was out there as far as nature, let them know that they're living in a really great place. And she was telling us about the unique geography and setup of that particular wildlife sanctuary, and telling about how the Ice Age came in and all of this, and why we only have a few type of trees there and everything. And as we were working and putting the mulch down and everything, I saw school teachers out with children, taking them to different places on the island. And I thought, this would be beautiful if it could become an educational tool for teachers to take them in there, learn about the geography, the trees of the island and what's there. And that's what started me going on this. So last fall, I planted flowers at the entryway. I don't know if they'll come up.
There's a little bit.
We're going to put in some
A little
red
bit of
buds.
extra digging around.
Yeah. We're going to put in some redbud trees at the beginning and replace the daffodils we lost because of the bike trail.
You want an omelet, you got to break some eggs.
I know, because it's a reason to do more.
There you
And so what I've been doing in the interim is I've been going on the internet and finding out what some other trails do. And I found one trail that I sort of fell in love with, and it was done for a school. So it really showed that you can really, really do it. I mean, you can do things like the energy flow in the ecosystem. You can do the hydrologic cycle of the area. I'm still looking for a geologist for my rock. You can do the different kinds of soil.
I thought we had one.
No, I never got his name. So you can identify
I
the...
just trained 19 geologists.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to call it a motivator.
So you can do, the different type of animals. And Bert told us last time that they do an owl walk. So I said, we got owls in there?
What a hoot.
Yeah, what a hoot, right? Now, they've never seen any, but they hear
You
them.
stand in that corner.
So, I mean, we can do all kinds of things. So what we've been doing is just sort of doing what I said we need to do before we have an open thing. It's just pulling together ideas of what other areas have done on their trails, knowing we have a budget, seeing who else we can pull in to work on it, probably going back to the Scouts. The Girl Scouts have come out with a gardening merit badge now. They should probably get involved, make it a community effort, and make the trail become educational. So you don't have to go on a field trip to Meyer Gardens. You can go over there and enjoy what we have.
Is that run right along Manchester? No, right across, right next to the people's houses? Or
It's Horse
lands?
Mill and Thoroughfare.
No, Manchester.
This wildlife sanctuary?
No, you're talking about the wildlife
He's talking about
sanctuary,
the garden club.
and you're talking the one in
Manchester.
Manchester is down here on the south end.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, that's where we are. But I've got two
Okay.
people helping now.
Just as a comment on it, one of the first things we're going to do when the weather breaks is we're going to
Put our bench.
put our bench out there and
Right.
secure it, level the ground,
Right.
and then shortly, maybe concurrent with that, is put some more chips on the trail extension that goes close to the
Right.
canal, and then the one that goes the part of the trail that's at the south end near. I think that's the first thing we're going to do.
Well, I figured that one was already pretty well set.
Yeah.
This is all the design stuff that's going on
Well,
yet.
that's great.
And we may have to do it incrementally and in phases, depending on
You don't have a lot of manpower.
what we decide we want to do. But do you think we're going too far on this? Are you on board with it?
Well, my own personal
Should we
opinion.
stick with trees?
My personal opinion is that this trail that we have in the wildlife sanctuary is without a doubt, in my opinion, the most beautiful area on Grosse Ile. And if we can make this a showcase where we benchmark that trail, looking at other trails, I think we should do everything possibly to make sure that the community is involved, do as much as we possibly can from an educational standpoint, and probably working with the Grosse Ile Nature and Land Conservancy as well.
Yep, that's what I thought. Bert, yeah.
If we don't do anything, if we don't try this, some of it may be a stretch goal, but if we don't try, we don't do. So let's proceed with it.
Okay.
I'm surprised that we've never taken advantage of all of the free trees that various agencies and organizations offer. DTE Energy
Now you mean to plant them on the land?
for using them for plantings.
Well, Bert asked that question, if not at our last meeting, at the one before, as to what really our mission was. Because she said, do we just let it sit there or do we
Embellish.
embellish it? And
How do we embellish it? A little.
so that's, I think, that's what we wanted clarification on, and this is our first step of doing a little bit of embellishing.
I'll try.
Now,
I get a lot of information from various groups that want to donate trees, so
Oh,
I
great.
will bring it to this
great.
group. And if somebody tells you can have 100 trees, and you say, "Well, we don't want them because we don't think we can plant them,"
Well, there's the emerald ash borer, as everybody knows,
Right,
has
right.
done it. In other words, there's a lot of vacant areas in the wooded areas right now where trees have died, where we can safely plant
some of the
trees.
sure some
Yeah.
some of the
So I think we should, if the trees are available,
your notes.
I think we can take advantage of any offers that we get.
Good.
Perhaps maybe we can get the Boy Scouts to help us plant trees, or the Girl Scouts, or other organizations to help us.
Good.
It'll be a high school biology class someplace.
some of
Itching to
these,
get out in the springtime, huh?
The stewardships for trails actually have volunteers who come out and help maintain the trail, either through organizations or just through community volunteers. So, I mean, it depends on how active we want to get, but I fell in love with that trail path. I really did. And I'd like to have other people enjoy it because I think it's so unique.
It is. All right, let's try to make this a showcase trail,
Okay.
and to show what we can do if we have to once we put a little bit of effort into it. So proceed full speed if you can.
Gotcha. We're working on it.
Okay, is there any other items that we have not discussed tonight that maybe we should put on future agendas?
Plate's still full.
No.
Plate's still
Pat,
full.
Pardon?
anything else that you want to, any items you want to put on future agendas or?
Well, I think we ought to have an ongoing report on the agenda on the trail, as an action item,
Okay.
so that we can keep people thinking about it and I know a lot of people actually watch this when they're sitting at home, and if anybody wants to join in with us, they can
Well, sure. We
do so.
can invite people from the public to come to the meeting.
Right.
I'd also just thought, I just thought of this, if we took some pictures of this trail as it was blooming in the spring. We have a nice projector at Township Hall, and
Great.
can put that up on the screens and out on television. This is what's happening out on Wildlife Sanctuary. For every person I know of in this community that's been on the sanctuary, there's at least 2 that have not been.
Well, I actually, last year, my husband and I used to walk a lot. We had 2 cars stop us and say, "Where is the wildlife sanctuary?" They were not from Grosse Ile, but they had heard about it, which also started me thinking, we have a jewel here.
When you look at our trail guide, the front picture of the trail guide is a picture of the Wildlife Sanctuary Trail taken from, I believe it's the south end on Horsemill.
It is.
Okay?
It is.
This one?
That one right there.
Yep.
Okay.
Looks a little different now.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like that at the present time,
No.
but it,
And we are putting up signs to identify poison ivy for art,
okay.
Touch here.
Touch here.
but that's a good point. So.
All right, I made it an issue, an item here that I will make sure that we will have an ongoing agenda item on the Wildlife Sanctuary Trail.
Good.
Okay?
Good.
Okay. Any other comments? Wally?
None for me.
Okay, I have none. I think you've made your comments before, haven't you?
Well, you have an item that says public comment, other items I'm waiting for.
Go ahead.
That's it, right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking at this open space, I have a good friend who shall remain nameless. Like most of my good friends, if they don't want to associate, know they know me. He puts on a lot of safety gear when he goes through the open space. He puts on wader-type boots, a hard hat, gloves, elbow pads, and he has a cell phone with him just in case he would fall down since he's going in there by himself.
Exactly.
Now, all these areas that say open space, and this has mystified me from the beginning of time when this started, I think in the early 90s, as we acquired properties. I don't like to put all that gear on to go through open space, but he likes to look at the wildlife and the flora and the fauna, and he's a biologist, so he knows. He can appreciate it. Now, the average person here is not going to invest in that kind of gear to go through open space. So I only can see that I get two benefits from open space as a resident. One is its preservation of the land, which should translate into enhancing the value of my home, irregardless of other issues in this township. That should be a given. Most communities across this country, that's what open space was designed to do, but they had a strategic plan, greenways, parks, etc., that made that more viable. I only see signs that say open space. Now, if I can't go in there and have a picnic, walk through anything that's designated open space, want a hard hat, gear, safety, poison ivy, you name it, animals, then the sign should say keep out, beware, because you're putting yourself at risk. And where would I park if I wanted to enjoy this open space? Now, these are just an observation from a resident who's been here a long time. It's a rhetorical observation. I'm not looking for answers. But you have to think about that as we progress selling what open space is, because I don't think I understand what the definition is. When I voted on it, it was said to retard growth in this community. Now it's morphed into being a nature thing, kind of moved over. It's changed its definition over time.
Just starting. It's
Yes.
in its infancy.
So when it started, it was to stop development. That was I have all the old newspaper clippings. I got 5. Let's stop development.
There's no argument on that at all.
Okay, so now we're facing in the township budget that I attended last night. Now we need revenue. Now we might have, that's why I say found money, might have to reverse the position and designate some new types of housing and things to increase revenue on some of this open space, since we have a lot of it. It's just an observation. Since I can't use it without safety gear, it could be reallocated, redirected into something of more value.
I don't know why you have to put on safety gear to walk on open space.
Limbs,
Pardon?
I wouldn't go in there by myself right now. A falling limb can make a widowmaker. That's what they call them in the farm world. It's a widowmaker if you get hit by a falling tree limb. And if you look at all the trees that are crisscrossed and fallen and on the ground, over 550 acres, you're not going to take care of that problem with a couple of weeks or a couple of days or weekends of cutting wood.
And it's not our intention to do that.
No, we don't want to
We
do
don't
it
want that. We want it to remain.
So you want it to
the
look
way
like a tornado went through it.
No. You want it to look like it did 200 years ago when the Indians were here.
Well, maybe they would have cut them and made
Maybe they
Things out of the
wouldn't,
woods.
but the intention is to keep them undisturbed. And there's no reason in the world why anybody would have to even think about having to wear special gear to walk out there. You want to put on a pair of hiking boots, you got enough common sense to put them on the right feet, you're in the right direction. Right?
Still, a falling limb is a problem. If you look at all the fallen limbs and you fly over this in an airplane and look at it and take photographs of it, I have got a whole buildable lot behind my home.
Have you ever been in the Manistee National Forest?
Yeah, I have a cabin. I have 14 acres there,
Yeah.
right in the forest.
There's a lot of fallen trees, a lot of
fallen
frost. You know, I hunt there. I love it because it is what it is. It's only God has its effect up there, nobody else. And I don't think that we're ever going to promote this as going out there, but make sure you got a hard hat.
So this is drive-by open space.
No, walk through.
It's not active participation open space.
It's
We have trails. We've
If you want
identified
to.
the
If you
trails.
want to.
We keep the trails safe.
Okay.
We go through, as a committee, each one has trails that we look at. If there's something that makes it unsafe, we bring it back to the meeting. We go out, we cut the trees, we remove anything that's fallen over. We try to keep mulch on them so that they're clear. At the wildlife sanctuary, we just went through and trimmed it to make sure that it was broad enough to allow a truck to go in and dump the mulch And if you need an emergency vehicle, they could go in and bring someone out.
So of all
Now-
the acreage we have,
Yeah.
how would we utilize it as residents?
Well, I think
All of the
I
open
think.
space, not just a particular
Okay,
parcel.
let me make this. The reason we started the open space program, the reason it was started back in the early 90s, was to curtail unwanted development. Because the people on this island, through their millage, wanted to retain the natural areas of the community and the ambience that goes with it. And that's why the open space, that's why we started off with 0 acres. When I started, we had about 420 acres, and now we got over 500 acres of open space. And we're reaching a point right now, in my opinion, where we're saying, how much more do we really need? There are some residents that feel we have enough. In my opinion, I think the vacant land that's out there is probably sufficient, but there's a lot of vacant land out there that's privately owned, some of it. So that's why we want to. That's why we're buying the additional open spaces to ensure that the vacant land that's out there is going to remain vacant and it's going to be protected. That's why people have supported the millage in the past for the open space program to get to where we're at right now, and that's why it's up to us to make sure that that with the approval of the residents of the township, that we maintain the natural ambience. In other words, we don't want this to be another Troy or another Auburn Hills where there's nothing but homes and subdivisions.
If you want a tomato plant, you got to plant it in a pot.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah. But that's what the people of this island want.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're going to go back and they're going to demand, well, we're short of revenue, so we want to start selling.
I don't believe that'll ever happen.
No, I don't think.
No,
I agree with that.
My last comment, and they're good explanations.
Yeah.
But that's just my viewpoint, as you stated many times.
Yeah.
That's my perception.
Yeah, but I'm just giving you
I understand, but I was here when that all started.
Yeah.
When you say the residents, that's what the residents want.
Yeah.
I don't know what the residents want. That's a general term and kind of encompassing what you see. We won't know what the residents want until they vote on a defined strategy and an understanding of what it means, what open space means.
That's
Right
why
now,
we want to have those open town halls. I think you missed
a public hearing.
what happened prior. Initially, we had thought we would go out and do a community survey to find out all of the input that you're bringing up now. Because what was true in 1990 or 13 years ago is not necessarily true now.
Could be,
A
but
lot
right
has
now-
happened, okay? But when I worked with Brian Pollock trying to develop this survey, the feedback we were getting is surveys have been overused. People are not responding to surveys the way they used to. So we scratched the idea of doing a community survey. And we decided that we would instead go out to the community, to the different organizations, get feedback from them. Once we get that feedback, then take all that feedback together, open it up to the public and say, this is what we're hearing. Is it correct, the perception of the open space?
I watched that meeting, and I'm sorry that you interrupted me because I lost my thought, but it's coming back. To get a real reading on public opinion and statistically significant sampling, by going to organizations that have proprietary interests, don't necessarily give you a true picture. I want a picture from a person that just moved here or a person that's been here 5 years with a welcoming packet, and they know this exists, and the first thing they'll say, what's the value? How can I utilize it in my life? How can I teach my children? People that come here to visit, I'm proud of the open space and how it enhances the beauty of the island. And that's sometimes in the eye of the beholder. But to define and say that this is what the people want, whether you're a trustee, a board member, or any person serving us in a serving capacity in this island. You can't say that. That's your opinion. That's a generality. You
It's
don't have
twofold.
the facts.
You go to the organizations, then you go out to the people.
That's what she's saying.
Yeah.
She's saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying the
bring
same
people
thing
in.
you're
That's
saying.
why they call it a town hall meeting.
That's
It's not a
that's
township
what we
meeting.
did.
It's
That's what we said during the meeting.
We
not
all
that
know
people don't
that,
show
that
up when
organizations will have their own things that they're looking
Exactly.
for.
You don't want that to become
We're
a
aware of
biased
that.
viewpoint.
The thing is, you've got to start somewhere. There you've got at least a group. Once we get something to start working on and get something, then we expand it to the whole community to come in and talk. We were even thinking of doing things like standing at Kroger's and talking to people.
Okay, that's
we
good.
want to
That's
get
good.
the broadest input. We just know that if we send a survey out to the whole community, we'd be lucky to get 20 back.
Yeah, there's a low return rate,
So
absolutely.
we're looking for new approaches to get feedback.
Okay, I can send you a memo on some of those approaches that work for what
I
I'm
would
doing.
appreciate it.
And it's pretty
We're
concrete
always
things that
open
come
for
back,
constructive
Yeah.
input.
and I'd be willing to do that for you.
Thank you.
Good.
If you want my email, I'll give it to you.
Yeah,
Good.
Okay, if not, if there's any other comments? If not, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much for coming.